My husband made me sleep outside in the snow so his sick best friend could have our hotel room, but he doesn't know that he was about to lose everything back home. Jake woke me up at 2 a.m. in our Colorado hotel room saying his best friend Tyler was having some kind of medical emergency and needed to lie down immediately. Tyler was supposed to be back in Portland, but apparently drove 6 hours through a snowstorm because he felt too sick to be alone. My husband was already helping Tyler through the door, his arm around Tyler's shoulders like Tyler could barely walk. I sat up in bed confused and half asleep. Jake said Tyler needed the room, needed to rest somewhere quiet, and could I please just go sleep in the car for a few hours until Tyler felt better. I stared at him. It was 19 degrees outside. There was 3 inches of fresh snow in the parking lot, but Jake kept insisting Tyler was really sick, that he might need to go to the hospital, that I'd understand if I wasn't being so difficult about everything. Tyler stood there looking pale but not saying much, just leaning against the wall and avoiding eye contact with me. Something about the whole situation felt wrong, but I couldn't pinpoint what exactly, so I grabbed my coat and went outside to the car. I turned it on for heat and sat there in the running vehicle watching snow fall in the parking lot lights. And I pulled out my phone and made a call I'd been planning to make anyway, just not at 2 a.m. in a hotel parking lot in Colorado. My lawyer Diane answered on the 3rd ring, sounding groggy. I told her to file everything first thing Monday morning. All of it. The divorce papers, the fraud complaint with his company, the documentation I'd found in his home office. She asked if I was sure about the timing, and I said I'd never been more sure about anything. 3 weeks earlier, I'd been looking for our insurance documents in Jake's desk when I found the bank statements. Statements for an account I didn't know existed, showing monthly transfers of $3,000 for the past 8 months to someone named Tyler Morrison. The same Tyler who was supposedly too sick to drive but had somehow made it 6 hours through a snowstorm to our exact hotel. I'd hired a private investigator after finding those statements. She'd worked fast. The photos came back within a week. Jake and Tyler having dinner at restaurants across town. Jake and Tyler going into an apartment together on Wednesday afternoons when Jake was supposed to be at the office. Jake and Tyler shopping for furniture at stores I'd never been to. The investigator found the lease agreement too. An apartment rented under both their names starting 8 months ago, right around the time those $3,000 transfers began. I sat in that cold parking lot reading through the investigator's final report on my phone. The photos were time-stamped and geotagged, completely undeniable. I'd known for 2 weeks before this Colorado trip that my husband was living a double life, but I'd pretended everything was normal. I'd packed for this trip. I'd smiled and made small talk during the 6-hour drive. I'd had dinner with him at the steakhouse across from the hotel and listened to him talk about his day. And the whole time I was calculating, figuring out exactly how to handle this so he'd lose everything he'd been hiding. His job had strict ethics policies. The fraud wasn't just personal, it was professional. He'd been using company resources for personal expenses, claiming business trips that were actually romantic getaways, falsifying expense reports. I documented all of it. Diane said we had enough evidence to bury him in court and get him fired, but we needed to wait until after this trip, until after he thought he was safe. I checked the time. It was 2:47 a.m. In 6 hours, the banks would open. In 8 hours, Diane would walk into his company's HR department with a folder of evidence. In 9 hours, his boss would see the expense reports I'd flagged, the falsified mileage, the hotel rooms booked for business conferences that didn't exist, the company credit card charges at restaurants and stores near that apartment. I'd been waiting for the right moment to file everything, and Jake had just given it to me by making me sleep outside in the snow while he and Tyler took over the room I'd paid half for. I texted Diane again confirming Monday morning, then I texted my brother asking if I could stay with him when I got back. He responded immediately despite the early hour saying his guest room was ready whenever I needed it. Jake came out to the car around 5 a.m. looking sheepish. He tapped on the window and I rolled it down. He said Tyler was feeling better and I could come back inside now. He actually expected me to thank him, to just go back to pretending everything was normal. I looked at my husband standing in the snow and I realized he had no idea. No idea that our joint bank account would be frozen by noon Monday. No idea that his company email would be deactivated by 2 p.m. No idea that by Tuesday he'd be sitting across from HR explaining why he'd committed fraud. No idea that the apartment lease he thought was secret had already been provided to my divorce attorney. But what I discovered when I walked back into that hotel room made me realize I'd only been seeing half of what was really happening. The rest of the story is on my channel or linked below.